1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan and occupied the country for 10 years. Against the Russians, the US aided the Islamic group known as the Mujahideen. Eventually, the rebels toppled the communist rule in 1989. From 1990 to 1996, the country was left in a lawless state, creating tension between rebel groups as to whom would be the successor. In these years of bloodshed and instability, the Taliban arose, heating rebel conflicts. In 1996, the Taliban took control of the country, introducing harsh Islamic law. In 2001, the international terrorist group Al-Qaeda attacked the World Trade Centers. Believing that the Al-Qaeda leader, Osama bin Laden, was hiding in Afghanistan, the US retaliated. And after 10 years, they found him and killed him in his home in Pakistan. The occupation has lasted for 11 years, and America plans to withdraw in 2014. What now for Afghanistan?
On the 9th of October 2012, the Taliban shot me on the left side of my forehead. They shot my friends too. They thought that the bullet would silence us, but they failed. Let us pick up our books and our pens. They are our most powerful weapons. One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world. Education is the only solution. Education first. Thank you.
You see the houses from here?
Ai uși tu cara de gana, mă.
Se colcă cum să nu.
What does he want for the future of Afghanistan?
De Afghanistan de ani de la pară țăoare.
والله چې افغانستان دې د لپاره وخت ته څو ځله افغانستان دې خراب وګوځي چې کراري او جنګ و جګړې دي خپل په کارو کې څه باندې لګیا یې ښه خوند کوي اوس وګوره د هغو غذا څه موږ دلته راغلي په دې مشکلاتو سره رالي زموږ مدیکې ته لیدلي دي پوه شوې هلته به کراري اوس څوک دوامه د کور هلته نشي وتلی د شپې د خوا پوه شوې هېڅوک نشي وتلی نو ما چې د شپې اوس یو مریض پېښ چې اوس خدای نکړه سخت مریض وي نو شفاخانې ډاکټر ته داسې رسولی هغه به څنګه شي ګوره باره هغه به بل پاتې شي که به ژوندی والله چې مثلا دې دپاره دا غواړو چې مکتب ووایه سواد زده کړي ښه به یې سره پوه شوې کار کسب څه نه جوړېږي والله چې
داکتې دا بل دیګ هم داکتې درکوي
چپ ول دا خوا ودرېږه مضمون پښتو الف اسمان دال اسمان دل اسمان ستوري
What does that say?
دا اسمان دی
That's
اسمان ستوري لري پوهېږې this is sky
This is sky.
this is sky is sky has stars
Stars.
اوس خلک وایي درس مه وایه داسې دی داسې دی دا مشکلات به زه دا کومه حل کړم چې زه مدیر شم چې زما وروره تنها هم چلېږي ماشومانو ته درس هم ورکوم استادان هم شته په آینده کې د شاګردانو سم یو څه جوړېږي لکه چې زه دغسې وم دوی هم دغسې دي په درس پوه شي تعلیم پوه شي دا خلک هم خپل د مور په نس کې نه دي زده کړي موټران لري تعمیران لري د افغانستان چې د افغانستان لپاره کومک وکړو
یعنې ته به چې وکړې چې مثال دا نور
زه مکتب جوړوم She is my friend. She is my sister.
My sister.
How are you?
How are you?
Walay siyasi.
He saw a helicopter airplane. He's really afraid.
دغه کې شهیدان شوي دي روزګان کې څلور فامیله وه
څونه وخت کې
یو میاشت کېږي
like months ago it's in Uruzgan from the bombing
From the bombing.
یو دی
just his father or he's alive and the mother died with another family
Do you know what kind of bombing it was?
دا امریکایانو بمونه چولي it's American bombing the jet you see his eye he got part of the bullet inside the eyes
که دا کوچنک په زنګو کې پروت پرچه په سترګو کې خو چتېده د بمبار
But now he's also afraid when he saw a helicopter or another airplane in the sky and he's crying always. Yeah, he's still afraid.
Okay.
Very large part of the youth, they've come back, they were born in exile in a refugee camp, either in Pakistan or in Iran. They've come back and they don't know anything about their own culture. Because in the schools, they were taught about Pakistani history, Arab history, but no Afghan history. So they don't know where their roots are. They're searching for an identity.
چې دا هر هېواد اوس وي تعلیم ونه لري او اوس وي تعلیم او تربیه ونه لري هغه هېواد په مخ باندې نشي تللی روزنه او ښوونه چې ونه لري هغه هېواد هېڅکله په مخ باندې نشي تللی دلته اوس تر اوسه حکومت داسې کومک خاص کومک یې نه دی
وایي د تا خپل نظر ځکه چې دلته استاد دغه شاګردانو دلته ترقي کړې ده یعنې ترقي په حالت کې دي که نه
ولې نه زه خپله چې دلته راغلی وم کابل ته الانه زما شی نه و زده خبره مې پوه دلته کابل ته چې زه رالم او میده د خلکو وهڅولم چې ته مکتب ته ولاړ سه پوه زه مکتب ته ولاړم اوس انشاءالله دغونه رسېدلی یم چې دا خلک وهڅوم او ډېر شاګردان رسېدلي اوس چې افضل غفاري ته مو معرفي کړي دي موږ اصلا چې زموږ سره تعلیم او تربیې په باره کې کومک کوي دا بهترینه خبره ده نه چې زموږ خلک ورسېږي پوه شوې زموږ سره دا همکاري چې وکړي هغه نس مړېږي پوه شوې چې هغه کم وي هغه وچ په وچه ډوډۍ هم مړېږي پوه شوې تعلیم او تربیه په باره کې چې زموږ سره ډېر کومک وکړي موږ د دوی سره ډېره ډېره مننه
الف ب ت س ج ه خ دال زال ر ز سن شن صاد زاد ت ز عین غین ف قاف کاف لام سین زرس شین زرس صاد زرس زاد زرس ت زرس ز زرس
What is the meaning of school?
ف زرف قاف زرف کاف زرف لام
The meaning of school that there is a building, there is chair, there is table, there is book, there is teacher. You can show me one school in Afghanistan that there is building, there is enough chair, there is enough table, there is enough books, and there is teacher or enough teacher. The salary of Afghan teacher, it is $120–130. How a teacher can survive and can teach with this salary?
Oceana is a grassroots NGO, it's a local NGO with international support. And Oceana has been functioning since 1993 officially. So that's about 19 years that Oceana has been functioning. And it's been supporting street working children and children returning from Pakistan and Iran.
If you had the solution for the problem in education, what would that look like?
Wow. Every child would be educated. Every child would have an opportunity to an education, which that's a child's right.
Can you ask him what his name is?
آمد چی هست؟
غفور
غفور؟ از کجا هستی؟ قربا شمالی اینجا چی میکنی؟
در اینجا خانه نیست اینجا چادری خیمه
چی هستن؟
این قربا خانه نیست اینجا چادری خیمه
پدرت چی کار میکنی؟
پدر مسافر
خود نام پیسه که برات میاد خانه تو
رابطان جمع میکنم
ها؟
رابطان جمع میکنم
A lot of kids are street kids, and they are the breadwinners of the families. We currently have about approximately 70,000 street working kids in Kabul. That's not in Afghanistan, that's just in the capital, Kabul. And these children go out and do hazardous work, they do any kind of work in order to bring home an income every day. And they've got to bring home some money. These children don't have a childhood like you and I have had. Their childhood has been lost because they have to support their families. There's high unemployment in Afghanistan, so the only best option that these families do have is to send their children out to beg, to work, to do anything that they can do. So we are fortunate, we are blessed that we come from the West where we have it all and they don't have. So some of these families have one meal a day, if that. These children are basically physically or mentally abused if they come home with no money. Because they are dependent upon to bring in money that day in order for them to eat. There isn't a social network, a social support by the government. The government doesn't support the families that are unemployed. Where we, in the UK, we have unemployment benefits where we can go and get money from the government. In America, you have the same thing, you have food stamps. In Australia, you have the same thing. Here, you don't have that. It's a family's responsibility. The government doesn't have the money.
How many kids are today now?
11,700 something.
Where does majority of your funding come from?
Our majority of the funding is coming from European Commission. But the funding will be ending in the end of March. The government of Afghanistan, they didn't put the issue of the children in priority. That is the reason the international community, and especially European Commission, they will be not able to support this program because it is not in the priority of the government of Afghanistan.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. نام فروناست. در این سرک مشرم بکشم. در آشیانه درس میخوانم. اصیل کمر مکتب هستم. مسئول استادای خودرزی هستم.
آینده بخیر.
در آینده
میخواهی چی جور شد؟
من نام مربیت مسئولم مسئول شما بشم. ما در اینجا خطاطی کار میکنم. میخوام در آینده خطاط بسیار خوب شم. من اسم را شاهد یک تن از شاگردان اشیانه هستم و در اینجا خطاطی کار میکنم و در بیرون ساجد فروشی میکنم. بعد از اینجا که ساجد بودم و در بیرون ساجد فروشی میکنم و ما در آینده میخوایم دکتر خوب شوم. اسم شبانه یک تن از شاگردان آشیانه هستم که در اینجا خطاطی کار میکنم و در بیرون کاغذ میتونیم به خاطر که از دست ما یک چیز ساخته نشده که با خود کار کنیم دیگه کاغذچی نمیکنیم. در اینجا خطاطی کار میکنیم و میخوایم در آینده یک خطاط خوب شویم.
صبح آمده بودیم غیر حاضر بودیم. همیال پیش گفتم. So, it is my car, a small car, no expensive. It is Afghan flag. There is no solution against corruption in Afghanistan because they corrupt judge, they corrupt prosecutor, they corrupt minister, they corrupt president, they corrupt vice president, they are in power. It is not possible to fight corruption with a corrupt man or corrupt woman. We must absolutely change our system. We didn't build a democratic system in Afghanistan. How we can try to respect human rights values when our minister, he's a criminal of war? It is time to change our direction.
Well, in the 1970s, that was a time when people were very enthusiastic. Everybody was optimistic, and there were a lot of things happening. Well, we had a ski club, we had a dressage club for those who were riding horses. They had all kinds of elegant restaurants. We went for picnics all the time. There was no restrictions in going. You could travel anywhere without being afraid. So it was a very peaceful time and a very enjoyable time. Some people called it the Paris of the East because there were so many sophisticated entertainment things. They didn't have all of these concrete barriers and razor wire and all these horrible things that are defacing the city now. There was a very sweet town. They've got a culture of their own, and it's fantastic. One day I went to a graduation ceremony of classical Afghan music, which was beautiful. That very same night, I went to a rock concert.
It may be something much of the world takes for granted, but it's something Afghanistan hasn't seen in over 3 decades, a rock festival. Young Afghan rock bands shared the stage at the Sound Central Festival with bands from Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan and Australia in this celebration of music from Central Asia and beyond.
They've got everything going for them, and sometimes you'll see the students here blossoming out in emerald green satin jackets and scarlet jackets and their hair all like this. I mean, they've got their own culture and they know what they like and what they're doing. However, if the government does not provide meaningful job or opportunities, this euphoria can explode at any minute.
I will give you the topic and you will debate. And you have no choice. Because this is a dictatorship and I am the law.
And so in terms of the quality of education, we're still trying to get there. It will take some time to break loose from the archaic systems of memorizing stuff and just going there and answering questions in an exam. And once you go to the real world, you don't know what to do. And so to teach that, you need to teach people critical thinking, and you need to teach people to learn concepts and then they can apply it everywhere.
So we're going to try and see if you can slowly start disciplining yourself, right? Not just talk about a lot of things at the same time. Focus on an idea, develop it, and then move on to the next idea.
One of their strengths is the fact that they're very passionate and they're very persistent in wanting to learn this. And you kind of need that because the process of becoming a debater or a competitive debater, it's not easy. There's a lot of mental discipline that you need. And so it's very good because these kids are very enthusiastic about it. And so it's something new to them. And so that's one of the good things.
Try your best to stick to this structure. It will drastically improve the clarity of your speech. Okay?
The weaknesses they have is the weaknesses we have as a society, I think. They have issues listening to each other. People think debating is about talking, but it's really not. Debating is about listening and thinking. And once you have something worth saying, then you say it. And so I'm hoping that through this process, they can start understanding these shortcomings. And when they acknowledge it, they will try and improve their ability to listen and to think critically and then to be good in presenting those ideas.
We have to start learning about governance, about economics, about women's rights, about children's rights.
I think this is an environment where they're constantly trained to accept the fact that others can think differently, and you can live in a society and function in a society among a group of people you don't necessarily agree with on all issues. And because the problem here is once two people or two groups of people disagree, they just think that's it. We can never work together on anything, and you're like, that's not the case. And so hopefully through this process they'll slowly start seeing things a bit differently.
What do you want for the future of Afghanistan?
Well, I want a people who are more responsive to the needs. They take control of their own destiny, because right now people are very passive. People just shrug off responsibility and say it's the government's responsibility or somebody else's job. But unless we do our part as individuals, then we can't expect the government or somebody else to do it for us. And I think that culture will take a generation to change. And the people you see around here, that's that generation. So if the right set of values is ingrained in them, hopefully they'll grow to be more functional and effective members of society.
از کدام کتاب پیروی میکنی؟ کسورو یک طریقی قرآن شریف.
قرآن شریف.
آفرین. تو کیستی؟
مسلمان.
از کجاستی؟
از افغانستان.
بر چی افتخار میکنی؟
افتخار میکنم که از دختر افغانم.
آفرین. چه کنی بس؟
There's some ethnic tensions, but they're way under the surface, and so, we don't have the kind of things like, Kabul University had last month or the month before, where, two students during a religious festival got thrown off the building and were killed. We don't have that kind of stuff here, thank God. I want them to get to the point where it doesn't really matter if you're Pashtun or Tajik or Hazara. If you're the best person for the job, you get hired. One of the first things that we teach them in the University Success class is we talk to them about the Jeffersonian model of democracy, and he says that basically that you need an educated voting populace to have a proper democracy.
People need to feel like we belong in one group as Afghans, reinforcing ethnic notions versus the national identity. If your ethnic identity is stronger than national identity, I think that's a problem. I think it's very good to celebrate who you are ethnically and your language and your culture, but I think it needs to fall within the national identity. Like, for example, you're an American.
I'm Canadian.
You're a Canadian. Well, there you go. You will accept somebody from Quebec, even though they don't speak your language, even though they want to secede. But they are Canadian still, and you will speak to them and talk to them and relate to them. And so that is a bond between you two, even though there are very wide differences. And so in our case, we have like 4 or 5 Quebecs, so it makes it a bit more complicated.
او د دولت مکتب دولتی رفته میتونه
تو پیران همونجا برتون نگرفت
چی میگه؟
اسناد تبر تذکره میده تذکره بیار
تو چی رو تذکره نداری؟
تذکره تو پیره رفت مرزه کدم ندار
خورس برای من گفتی که بچه گفته بود که بچه حق نداره کم مکتب است و کم مکتب
اینجا در اینا که مکتب ایناست در اینجا میره و نماندن اینجا
اینجا
قومی رو
این مکتب یشان است چی گفت اینجا باید؟
اینجا اشتکا تلت میکنه اینجا باید شما نمونی اشتکا ما بره اشتکا اینو لد میکنه این روی جلو
There's a lot of things that need to change in our culture, but specifically when it comes to communication, we're at a disadvantage because we haven't been speaking to each other as a people for about 30 years. We've shut down the doors and we just stop acknowledging different ideas. People aren't doing that because they don't see self-interest in collective work. People don't see their tribe or their family making money if they have to sit down and share it with another tribe or another ethnic group.
Our training will intensify as we move forward. And so you should be very clear on what to expect from this session and what I expect from you.
I think we need to fix the system from its foundations, its roots. So primary school, middle school, high school, and university. Like for example, they can learn about the separation of powers in class. Like if you're a political science student, you will know that there's the legislative, there's the executive, and there's the judiciary. And then you look around you, you look in Afghanistan, you're like, yeah, there are these three different entities in the government, but are they actually doing what they're supposed to do? What can be done to improve their performance and their respect for each other as institutions? And so that transition between academia and the real world, that's missing.
مهارت چند هستی؟ داینده میخوای چی شوی؟ Police.
Just like in any country, I think it has to start with, you know, the kindergarten, the very young kids, and I think men and women have to have equal access to education. I think better trained teachers, I think more money going into the schools and the facilities and things like that. I really would like to see more of the give and take and in the classroom and discussions, particularly at the high school level. We really want the future leaders of Afghanistan to understand how to do problem solving and critical thinking and things like that. If you're not prepared for class as students, the class is going to be terrible. You make or break the class. It's not necessarily me. I'm only one component, you're the other component. If they started valuing themselves and their own opinions more, I really think that they would start holding their leaders accountable a lot more than they do now. I think the Afghan mentality is that if you're elected president or you're a director of an office or you're in charge, no one really questions you. That's not the culture. You don't go to your boss and say, listen, I've got some constructive criticism or feedback for you. Some of the policies that we have, you know, they're not working and here's why. And then here's the solutions I have. That's kind of in the US what you might do in a very respectful way. You don't want to challenge your boss, but when something's not working, you have to let them know. And they would be upset with you usually if something wasn't working, you didn't tell me, how am I supposed to know? But they don't do that here. And a lot of times they draw lines in the sand. They have their territory marked off. It's kind of a weird caste system. Know your place, know your role. So that's one of the challenges that we kind of face.
He is going to do this without you. I would say that let's not do it for publicity, but let's do it as a social and moral duty.
They're in the classroom for the first time in their lives and they're asked for their opinions. They're asked to have a discussion in class, whereas in their Afghan or Pakistan high schools or wherever they went to high school, it's really you sit there, you listen, you take notes, and then when it's time to take a test, you regurgitate the information only.
Dictator.
No, I'm saying, but you can ask the students to submit the names of movies they want to see, and then you guys can make a list, and then you guys can vote on them.
Yeah, that's a good idea. How to post that on our page. Yeah. And ask students which film they want.
I think it took about 2 or 3 years of the student body getting angry that the SGA was absolutely doing nothing, and they lost complete respect for them. And then this year, we had a lot of people run for the offices, and it's been a much better organization. So we're moving in the right direction, slowly but surely.
As an IT instructor, really interested in these startups, and it's a new growing field here of like young, innovative startups that are really trying to solve social problems using, using design thinking and approaching different concepts and different problems with, commercial responses, so that they can make money and help solve a social issue. So I wanted to go that way, get into the innovative, new kind of development where we can have a really strong Afghan leadership, especially of youth, who are able to think a little outside the box and maybe don't have the same cultural assumptions as, their parents' generation had. Well, we'll see which direction they end up going in, depending on, of course, what else happens. You know, if it's not secure here, then we can't have startups. We can't have, you know, young, innovative organizations and companies that are solving social problems. So if stability continues and gets, you know, better, then hopefully we'll see more people staying and doing more work here.
I went to school here, and basically my main goal was to be part of this country where I can help rebuild it. Whatever has happened for a long time, and there have been wars going on between tribes, between people, between different ethnicities. What I would like for this country is to have a proper economy system where they can try to keep things stable. With such a system, if they could establish, there will be no need for anyone to fight for no reason. Nobody would fight if they get paid, have their child educated. Why would someone fight? There's no reason, right?
We want schools and education for every child's bright future. We believe in the power and the strength of our words. Our words can change the whole world because we are all together, united for the cause of education. And if we want to achieve our goal, then let us empower ourselves with the weapon of knowledge. And let us shield ourselves with unity and togetherness.
I look through the trees and I see nothing. I see nothing. The dust has blown away. Took the feeling. Took the feeling. His have seen it all. They keep the silence, keep the silence. The waters cease to flow. They hide their eyes now. They hide their eyes now. Cast no shadow on the ground. The children cry, they make no sound. Cast no shadows on the ground.
I've been coming to Afghanistan ever since the Taliban fell. So Kabul has changed dramatically, and this is part of a story of hope as well. When I first came here, of course, what we see now is a very congested city that was designed for less than 1 million people, and we have over 5 million here. But there was no activity on the streets. There were certainly not women and girls on the streets. Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite times of day in Kabul is when girls get out of school in the late afternoon and they're walking in 2s and 3s down the street, having snacks, enjoying a good laugh together. That is profound change. For those who think that Afghanistan hasn't changed over these 10 years, it's simply wrong. I step back and say, well, we are building a law department at American University of Afghanistan, but what I hope that we're doing in a broader way, on a larger scale eventually, is building critical thinking skills that can be applied in problem solving. I would hope the law students that graduate are imbued with a sense of ethical responsibility to carry out their roles in whatever they might do in a way that is different from perhaps the generation in political leadership today. I've reoriented my career to try to respond to the demands of my students here at American University of Afghanistan. So I've seen incredible change over the last 5.5 years on campus. The student body has grown. The ethos of something different happening has grown as well. I come to Afghanistan and I see students hungry to learn and hungry to make a difference in their country. I believe in my students and what they're trying to do in Afghanistan, and I really believe in the students and the faculty here and what they're trying to do. Just because there have been enormous problems with seepage in foreign assistance here, don't turn your backs on people who have worked so hard to imagine and engaged in and rolled up their sleeves to actually state build and develop politically and economically. The students here keen to learn. It's a really moving experience to see it all take place. And for me, it gives me a look at the sense of hope for the future of Afghanistan. The hope is in the student body, and it's in the next generation. That's where the story of hope is created. They're an incredibly inspiring group of people, and this is the great unremarked underbelly of that which is not covered in the American media about a story of hope in Afghanistan.
I think the West needs to help us help ourselves. That wasn't happening. It hasn't been happening yet. And we have strengthened the culture of dependency, but we haven't strengthened the culture of self-reliance. People talk about it, but nobody actually invests time and energy and money in it. The people who can aren't doing anything about it. The people who have money aren't creating new opportunities in Afghanistan. They're just transferring their money to Geneva, to Dubai, or wherever. And so there's a reason for that. The reason is because the mindset here is that you have to just fend out for yourself. You know, I don't care what happens. What you do will maybe change the opinion of one more person, and then another, and slowly you'll reach that critical mass, and then you'll get the group moving in the right direction. But so, you know, we don't have the critical mass, basically.
Already, we have brought home 33,000 of our brave servicemen and women. This spring, our forces will move into a support role, while Afghan security forces take the lead. Tonight, I can announce that over the next year, another 34,000 American troops will come home from Afghanistan. This drawdown will continue, and by the end of next year, our war in Afghanistan will be over.
In certain policy circles in Washington, we talk about pulling out of Afghanistan, disengaging with Afghanistan. The people that I've been working with in Afghanistan since the Taliban fell have really been trying to imagine a different future for the country. And to me, to turn our backs on those who have been working so hard to imagine a different future is something that I can't contemplate. To say that Afghanistan's going to descend into civil war, to me, is an out-of-body experience. I wish some of those who make that argument in policy circles in London and Washington and elsewhere would come and spend a week with me.
we're just at a standstill. We could go this way or we could go that way. But I don't agree with the media that keeps saying it's going, after 2014 there's going to be doom and gloom and the whole country will break up, and I don't believe that.
All the talk is on Afghanistan and what's going to happen after 2014, and that's really what everyone's focusing on now. But I think their hopes and dreams are that they either just get degrees here at AUAF and they can use whatever they learn to better themselves and better their country. And a lot of the students want to get their advanced degrees in Europe, Australia, Canada, the US, things like that, and then also bring that knowledge back to Afghanistan and improve their country that way.
There should be some lessons. Education, there should be academic.
The message that I would give to young people who have inspired me here in Afghanistan is don't give up. Don't give up. We are seeing generational change, but generational change by definition takes time. And over 5 or 6 years, I've seen change in certain key institutions. It's been slow, it's been frustratingly slow, but change is taking place. And for one who has spent some time in the ivory tower, it's great to see this change happening here. Once this generation has the opportunity to bust loose in ways and flex its muscle, to exercise leadership in ways that it thinks leadership should be exercised in country, we're going to see something, I think, pretty exciting in Afghanistan.
So we need to walk this road on our own. No one can, hold our hand and drag us, because that's what's been happening. And then people are shocked, oh, why aren't they walking on their own when we let them go? Because, you never gave us a chance. And so this is our chance, whether we make it or break it, So let's see.
Beautiful.
What does he want to do when he gets older?
Teacher.
Teacher.
من نشستم كده جميع درس میخوانم بخاطر که ما از ما چیزی جوش تاکی با افغانستان خدمت کنیم.
What does she want for the kids?
وای خپل ماسیانو یا زمونو لپاره چی غواړي؟
لاغو د پارم د کارن مکتب غواړم درس غواړم.
I've seen it all around. I've seen it all around. The place they call their home. Coming down beneath the violet sky. 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 Oh. These skies were happy kids. Oh, these skies were happy kids. Easy going life. Oh, easy going life. Oh, to be under the cloud of greedy men. Oh, to